Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I am incredibly well. And you, Petra?
Good. Nice to finally meet you, sort of.
Yeah, in person.
Exactly. That's what I mean. I'm just trying to adjust my screen. Oh, no. Wrong one.
Can you hear me well? Can you see me well?
Yeah. Oh my God. Look at that microphone.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I'm quite proud of my microphone. Okay. So, what do we need to know? I've given you a bit of a sense of the theme of the podcast around
Mhm.
adversity and what's allowed you to create the success that you've created. It's very informal. I just like to go with things. Of course, I've got some baseline questions. Do you have any questions? Are you
Uh,
comfortable like just being open and being
yeah,
organic in
yeah,
how it goes?
yeah. But perfectly. I do about like 150 interviews every year, so I'm
You're
used to
done. You're
this.
ready. And of course, we can edit it, so it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Hair check. Lovely. Welcome, everyone. Let me make sure I make you say your name properly. Actually, it's Simone Vincenzi.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
I was married to
Yes.
an Italian man, so there you go. All right.
The Italian pronunciation is good.
Lovely. Good. At least I got something from that marriage, eh?
So something left.
Something. I shouldn't be so cruel. um,
I'm not getting into details.
let's not go there. This is about
Let's
you.
not go.
This is about you. Okay, here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Adversity to Advantage podcast. Today, we've got on the other end of our Skype video, we've got Simone Vincenzi. He is passionate about turning experts into authorities. He is the co-founder of g-tex. He's a contributor to Forbes and the Huffington Post, a TEDx speaker, what do you not do? I love this, and a basketball player and musician. Welcome to the show, Simone.
Thank you, Petra. It's a pleasure being here today.
So you've given us a bit of a start in telling us what you're passionate about, but fill in the blanks a little bit for our listeners. Tell us a bit about who you are, what is it that you're passionate about, maybe your impact in the world at the moment.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, as you said in the introduction, I'm really passionate about turning experts into authorities. Because I remember when I started my business, it was very difficult to get started. It was very difficult to get clients. I was younger because I started my business at 22, and it was very difficult to get people to trust me. So I had really to work a lot on understanding how do I get people not just to buy from me, but in particular to trust me enough that they want to have a business relationship with me in the different ventures that I had. And that's what led me down the path of really understanding the power of positioning, of sales and marketing done in the right way. And it helped me massively scaling, growing businesses for my clients up to 7 figures, my own one in the multiple 6 figures. And that's, I became passionate about helping other people doing the same because I saw them, they were struggling like I was when I started, and I decided to pass on the baton,
I love it.
as we say.
And so
As,
just to clarify, in your mind, what is the difference, just to clarify for me, between an expert and someone who is an authority sort of voice or figure?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that there is a kind of a scale, a ladder in the expert journey. You start with a hobby, which means it's something that you're interested in,
Sure.
but you're not even thinking about monetizing it, or maybe the thought about monetizing it is far away. You're
Yeah.
just spending your time reading, listening to podcasts like this one, and then you switch to the point where you're saying, I actually want to make money with this stuff. I want this to be my business because I'm so passionate about it and I'm so knowledgeable about it that I want to spread the word and make money at the same time. So that's where you start making a full-time living from what you're doing, from what you love, whether it's on a employee basis, so whether it's someone else paying you or you have your own business, but you make money from your expertise. That's I believe you become an expert. And then you go to the next stage, which is the influencer level. And the influencer is where you not only earn money from what you're doing, but also you have built a following of people around you that no matter what you're going to create, they're going to buy, they're going to follow you, they love you, they're raving fans.
Yeah.
And that's a very sustainable level of business, because you at this stage you will always have clients. Every time you put something out there, someone buys, and that becomes the influencer level. And then you have the authority level, where you have other influencers coming to you for advice.
Oh, got it.
And that's where you kind of reach the pinnacle, when you're recognized as the influencer of the influencers in your field.
That's when you're
So,
right at the top. Yeah.
exactly. So the work that I do with my clients is to help them going through that ladder, and getting the authority in their field.
Amazing. Love it so much. So give us just a little bit of context. If you take us right back to growing up, your childhood, what was that like for you? Do you think your parents and maybe the education system kind of set you up for life in the real world?
Well, yes and no. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. Both my parents had a good job. I didn't miss anything when I was a kid. We could go on holiday. I could have the toys that I wanted.
Yeah.
So it was a great childhood, and I arrived to the point when I was 14 years old that unfortunately I discovered that my father was an alcoholic, and my mom did a great job to cover everything up, not to make me and my brother go through the pain of that situation. So she was protecting us, and from when I realized that it's been going on for more than 6 years. And at one point, one night, my mom had enough, called the police officers, and they came over the house, and that's where things started going downhill. Because fortunately, my parents split up. I think it was a blessing at that time, because the situation couldn't go on in that way for us, for my mom. And my father went into a rehab clinic, and from living a good lifestyle, where we weren't really rich, but nothing.
You were comfortable.
Nothing. We were comfortable,
Yeah.
exactly. Then we ended up really struggling financially, because we only had my mom was raising me and my little brother. Now, at the time, I was 14 and my brother was 6. So we have an 8-year difference. And so I decided that I wanted to help my mom, because I didn't like to see her struggling so much. And I decided to go and get a summer job.
Yeah.
And the first job that I could find was as a waiter. Now, it's very stereotypical.
Love
as an
it.
Italian. You go work at a restaurant as a waiter. That's what we do. And
but you sort of had to step into being the man of the house, or supporting in some way.
I did. So on one side, I was fighting, because I knew that I had the responsibility to be the man of the house, but I wanted to escape that situation. So I was constantly fighting my mom, and so I was becoming a bit of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. On one day, I was like the perfect kid in the world, and on the other day, I was literally like put me in a PRU unit.
Yeah.
And so it was that what happened. That's how I reacted to that whole situation. That was my way to get rid of my pain, or to express my pain in that moment, even though I wasn't feeling it. Like I was okay. I was fine in my mind.
Because as a 14-year-old, you can't really articulate everything that's going on for you emotionally. You're still going through physical and emotional changes, and then that's the time when everything gets disrupted, and like life as you knew it now has to completely change. You've got to adapt. So you wouldn't understand until sort of in hindsight, probably, what exactly was going on. You're just like, ooh, responsibility, but I resent this. I'm still a kid. So you're kind of flipping between them.
Exactly. On the other side, I say, "Who responsibility? I want it. I'm an adult." So there was this consistent fight between that, and but I found my escape in work. I loved working in restaurants so much that I started dedicating my life, literally going to restaurants. And I remember 1 year later, I went back to my mom and said, "Mom, I'm gonna quit school. I'm going to work in restaurants. I'm going to be a waiter." Now,
how old were you at that point?
I was 15 at the time.
15. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So as you can imagine, my mom freaked out.
Ooh, yeah.
I said, "No, you're going to school. No questions about it." So I kept going to school, but every evening and every weekend I was working because I already found my path. I knew that it was the right thing for me. It was the thing that I absolutely loved. I never felt so passionate in my life, apart from basketball, about the topic that or a kind of work. I didn't enjoy really going to school, even though it was a great school and that I was going to, but I didn't really enjoy it. And when I found actually the practical application, because I'm a person that learns by doing,
yes.
And
instead of sitting there being talked
exactly,
to.
I'm the kind of restless kid, always at the back of the room making noise. So when I found a way that a job that got me to walk all the time, so I was moving all the time, and I was talking to people all the time, that was my dream job for me.
Yeah.
And I became, I worked really hard.
Of course.
I
so
went.
You're still going to school. You're doing evenings and weekends, just like late hours, I imagine. Yeah.
Exactly. And I went to. By the age of 19, I worked in more than 200 different restaurants. To give you an idea. A lot of them were paid work, other were free work, because they were restaurants that I knew I wanted to learn from them. So I was going in one night and I say, hey, can I work for you for free for a week, and just to learn how you do things. I was about 16 at the time.
Wow. So some real ambition and almost kind of putting yourself on an apprentice path.
Exactly. And by the age of 19, I managed my first Michelin star restaurant. So I became the youngest Michelin star restaurant manager in Europe. I was earning a lot of money for my age, but even for other ages, I was earning anything from like 3,000 to 5,000 a month at the age of 19 euros.
Yeah.
So I was living a good life.
That is a good life, yeah.
That's a really good life, man. I started university. I started studying philosophy at university, but then I quit. I did it just to make my mom happy.
That's so opposite from what you're describing makes you happy. It's all like stuck in your head, cerebral stuff.
Exactly. But on the other side, I love to think.
Okay.
The only subject, one of the few subjects that I loved at school was philosophy.
Got it.
So my mom said that you gotta get a degree. So I went out and I got a degree and I went to university, but I was there at 21 at the time, 20 years old. I was earning a lot of money, so I was still working every evening and every weekend, and or sometimes the afternoon. I was going to university in the morning at 8 o'clock the class, and then I was playing poker up until 5 o'clock in the morning. So
what, for fun? Was that your leisure time? Okay.
I was going with friends. We were playing poker, getting wasted up until 5 o'clock in the morning. So I had to give something up, and I decided to give up university. Now,
because of course the poker had to stay. Of course.
That was
you're 19. Yeah, fair enough.
And so you can imagine again, my mom wasn't impressed, but she was seeing that I was going somewhere in my career. And then when I was 21, I received a job offer to work in the UK. So someone saw me at a restaurant in Italy and said, I want you to work in my restaurant. It's like, I became pretty good there. So I used to be poached by a lot of people. I never had to send a CV. People were seeing me because that's how restaurant owners, they find a lot of their stuff. They will go to other restaurants and they will poach their waiters.
See you in action. Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
That's a kind of an insight in the industry. So it's kind of common. If you see a talent, you say, hey, I have a restaurant, come and work for me. I can give you more money and better hours. And so I was earning more money, promising me more money and much better working hours. And I was like, you know what? I'm 21.
And an opportunity to go to a different country.
Exactly. And I remember when I was 18, I went to an Interrail around, and I did England, Scotland, and Ireland by train with a backpack with some friends.
Oh, wow.
And I fell in love with Scotland. And I had in my mind that one day I was going to move to Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. So when that guy said, I have this restaurant in London, come and work for me, in my mind I was saying, well, at least I'm getting closer to Edinburgh.
You're closer, yeah.
But then I loved London so much that I stayed in London. I didn't move to Edinburgh. But that's how I ended up being in the UK, and I could barely speak English. I could only ask things restaurant related, like what would you like to order? Yeah. Do you need a fork? Do you need a spoon? Yeah, let me give you a new glass. It's like this
Perfect.
kind
That's
of
all you
thing.
need, right? That's all you need. Wow. So then you make this massive transition. The thought in the back of my head is, what was your relationship like with your father after this point? Presumably he'd left rehab. Had he stayed sober, or did something change in that regard?
Yeah, the relationship with my dad went. It was literally up and down. So I think we didn't see each other, even talk to each other for about 4 years at the time because I didn't want to see him.
You were
And
probably angry as a kid that he'd let you down in some way. Yeah.
absolutely. And then I started moving step forward, but then it was yo-yoing. So it was sober for some period of time, and then it was getting back to it. And so it was very difficult because I wanted to trust him when he said, "No, I'm fine now," and just to discover that it wasn't true. And I gave him a lot of opportunities to change in that way, and unfortunately, he didn't. So we don't have a good relationship now with my dad. But I did everything I could to reestablish it. Like, sometimes I didn't want to feel I didn't give him a second chance or third chance or fourth chance. But then you arrive to a point when you got to say, okay, now enough is enough.
What's that
Things
point
have to
though?
stop.
How do you know when enough is enough?
In my opinion, I felt it because I got scarred so many times
Yeah.
that I said, okay, you know what? I have enough right now. And but when I had enough, it wasn't I'm angry at you enough.
Right.
Is I did everything I could.
Right.
That's the path you chose to leave. I'm ending this relationship with my heart in peace. Of course, it still hurts talking about it.
Of course.
It's not easy, but I have no resentment towards him. I worked a lot. I went through a lot of counseling during my journey. That's how I got started into coaching, actually, because I was taking counseling for me. And my counselor was also a trained coach, so she was using CBT counseling and coaching and also healing practices to help me out
Okay.
in the moment. So that what happened with my dad. So I decided to say, no, you know what? Now enough is enough.
I guess
And
it's just go ahead, sorry.
yeah, and I never say never. Things
Right.
can change. Things can change if we can prove that for a long period of time, uh, it sorted himself out. Then I'll be more than happy to give him another chance.
Love that. I mean, addiction is a terrible thing. I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, so I'm on the other end of I am the parent, and I have two children who sort of suffered through some of that in their early years. Luckily, I was able to sort of get some support and sort of stay stopped. But it sort of relates to any toxic relationship that we have or something that's draining us and sort of abusing us in some way, where we want to give, we want to give, we want to help, we want to support. And then at some point we have to go, actually, I'm helping more even maybe by having a boundary and looking after my own resource. And we've got to trust that they're responsible for their own mental health, their own addictions, that, like we can't
Hmm.
fix people, but it's
Yeah.
such a hard kind of thing to learn when your heart, you just want people to be better.
And in particular when they are so close to you.
That's what I
I
mean.
think
Yeah.
that a big shift for me was in terms of forgiving him was understanding that addictions are a mental illness.
Yes.
And so when I was able to see it in that light, and also I struggled with eating addiction. So for me, it came out on the other side. So I went through anorexia, bulimia, overeating. I went to Overeaters Anonymous for a period of my life.
Wow.
When I was 20, was that 25? It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was I understood. At that
Yeah.
point, I understood how difficult it was for me, even with food. And the thing with food is that it doesn't affect your external state. right? So,
You
but
mean your behavior? It can
your
affect your
behavior,
weight,
yeah,
but not
exactly,
your
exactly. Right?
like
You can be
behavior.
on a sugar high because you've eaten like 5 cakes,
Yeah,
but
I've been there.
right? So, but you're not.
You're not abusive to
Not
other
abusive, and
people.
you're in control of what you're doing, like with alcohol or drugs. Then it takes away the control, that the filter
Yeah.
that you have in interactions with other people. So if I understood like how difficult it was for me, I think alcohol and drugs is even more difficult than food to get rid of.
Yeah.
uh,
But I guess you could understand the internal process of addiction, that you know logically that you don't want that extra cake or that extra whatever, and you know that it's having a bad impact on your physical health, but yet you feel tired or you feel depressed or something's happened and you have a trigger pattern where you then just turn to the sugar or turn to the food, and in order, like almost a self-soothing thing. So I
mhm.
guess you could understand that internal like pain. It really is pain to be
Yeah,
stuck in that cycle.
because you want to change and you say to yourself, this is the last one.
Yes, you do. And you
and
tell other
and
people, like in alcohol, you're just like, yeah, I'm never going to drink again, ever. And then sure enough, 22 hours later, 12 hours later, you're like, oh, life's hard. I really should have that drink or eat that cake.
Exactly. So being able also to go through some sessions with them, to Alcoholic Anonymous, and also going through the process myself, of the 12-step process, it got me definitely to have more empathy and be able to forgive him
That's a
on
big
that side.
step already to go to Al-Anon or the support group for AA. Just like that is an active step in saying that you want to understand him or forgive him in some way, even if maybe you're angry or not ready yet. I don't know.
Well, I need to thank a big this industry where I'm in, the personal development industry, because um, the main message is about taking responsibility of your own life, and also that if you don't forgive, you are the only one who is carrying that burden. And I took those two messages on board in my life, because then at a certain point I was looking around myself and I was saying, well, I'm spending all this money in these courses, but what am I actually doing? And of course, it's easier to apply those learnings in situations where you can be more detached, and it's much more difficult than when family is involved,
Oh,
because
oh my God.
brothers, sisters, uncles, dad, mom, all the things are, everything feels 100 times more like there is the smallest thing is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But then
And
I
there's
said,
more guilt, right? If you feel like you
exactly.
don't play your part. Yeah, go ahead.
Then I said, well, I'm teaching those things to other people, but how am I applying this to my own life? And I'm a big believer of walking my talk. I would never do something, I would never teach something that I cannot prove or have done myself, or I can do it without other people, but in particular done it myself.
Nobody tells you
So,
about that part of the journey, though. People are like, I'd love to be a coach. I like talking to people. Or I'm a therapist as well. I'd love to be a therapist just to help other people, right? And the journey always is so internal and so like, I've got to look out for myself because I can't teach other people to do this if I'm just not forgiving and totally fucked up. It becomes like a lifelong personal journey, doesn't it?
it is, and no one, I believe that also no one is perfect. So I'm not looking to reach this level of enlightenment before mentioning this or teaching other people.
No.
But as long as I'm walking the path as well,
Yes.
and I can show that, hey, I can understand you because I'm walking the path with you. I know it's hard. Then you can have, I think, also with your clients a much higher level of compassion and empathy to understand what they are going through, just instead of saying, hey, what's your action for next week? So,
Right. It's so
so
surface and practical then, and doesn't actually impact that core part that actually perpetuates the habits, such as
exactly.
addictive behaviors. So we're covering so many things already as far as adversity and you building your own resilience and finding resources. If you would think of sort of the top bit of adversity that you've faced or the challenge that you've faced within your life up until this point, what would you put it down to?
Even the challenges that I faced.
Yeah, so I guess I relate to the term like a rock bottom or a crash point.
Right.
And
Okay. Right.
yeah, so have you
Yeah.
ever experienced something like
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah, many times.
Right. Me too.
I think that the bigger you dream, the bigger the game you play, the higher are the highs and the lower are the lows.
It's true.
That's what I've experienced. So I think that I have to say that the most difficult one for me, and I've been homeless for 6 months. I've been in other situations, but the biggest one was the food addictions,
Mm.
because it was consuming my life. It was consuming my energy. All I could think about was food. And I remember I did some stuff that I wasn't like. If I think about that, how what I did to eat a sandwich, like it just makes me feel ridiculous. But I'll tell you
Yeah,
this.
give us an example. What do you mean?
Yeah, so there was a moment where I was building my business. I didn't have much money, and I was going through this roller coaster of food addiction. And I remember I was doing a project with a youth organization, because I was working as a youth coach at the time in different schools and organizations. And I was doing a project to help homeless people. Now, one of my role was to go and also collect food for homeless at Pret a Manger or other places. That was my role. So what I was going in and I said, hey, can I have this food for homeless people? And then I was going to, I was literally eating it.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And now, if I'm looking at on a logical point perspective right now, it's like, Simone, what the fuck are you doing?
Sure.
But even it doesn't sound normal to anyone. But and for a sandwich, I mean, we're not talking about it's a freaking
Gourmet,
sandwich.
yeah.
But when you are in that situation, there is almost another person that takes over. Like there was nothing in my mind at that moment that was filtering, this is wrong, or there was not that moral compass in there, and it was just me, like someone that possessed my mind and my body for a moment, did the action, and then when the action is finished, or while you are halfway through the action, then you realize, but then you're like, well, I've started, let me finish now.
And then what happens though? What's the next bit of the cycle?
And then the next bit of the cycle is beating yourself up. So I was beating myself.
Right? Yeah.
Shame and guilt. Oh my God, what did I do? Did I really went into that shop and said, "Can I have food for homeless people?" and then eat it myself?
Yeah.
And that makes things worse, because then I would use again food to make myself feel better.
Yeah. Because then you go, I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be here, or like all that sort of shame and aggression towards yourself. And then it leads you right back to the thing that you felt shame about in the first place.
Exactly, and that was a cycle that was incredibly hard to break, and that was I think when I felt I hit the rock bottom, because there was I'm a very resourceful and persistent person. Like a lot of people say, I know it by myself. I'm just not the kind of person that will give up or take no for an answer.
But a lot of us addicts are, to be fair, because once you put your energy away from the obsession of addiction and you suddenly go, for fuck's sake, I've got so much resource and energy to focus on something good. It's like crazy.
Exactly. And so in that moment, I remember that it was it was the only thing I couldn't sort out about my life. Like I was doing everything I could. I was doing NLP, I was doing healing, I was doing...
Oh, so you were already in the thick of that sort of work and space, and okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's and I think it is even worse, because then you are self-aware. So I was self-aware of what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I knew the game that I was playing.
Yeah, but you still couldn't get out of it.
But I couldn't stop it. And that was the most frustrating. Like I have all these courses, all this knowledge. I'm helping other people doing it. And first of all, I felt like a fraud because I couldn't do it for myself. And I was aware of every single thing I was doing. But even though I was able to analyze it, I wasn't able to stop the behavior.
But also you're analyzing it in your head. You're not maybe verbalizing it because you don't want anyone to know that that's actually the double life that you're leading.
Exactly. And the turning point for me was when I started being open. So Overeaters Anonymous helped me massively.
Was that your first step, that you found that program or went there?
Yeah. because I was looking at Google how to stop overeating, and then there was all the resources from Overeaters Anonymous.
Yeah.
So I found some places around, and I went there. I didn't really know what to expect, but I said, you know what?
I'm desperate.
I gotta change this stuff. And
do you remember your very first meeting?
Yeah, so awkward. So freaking awkward. It's like, oh my God. What
Did
am I
you try
saying?
and just like hide at the back? Did you talk?
No, I talk.
You
I
did.
talk. I don't have problem, like as you can see right now. I don't have problem at talking. So I never had problem. Like,
But this
I
is
knew
different
that I
though,
was.
because of just the
Yeah,
shame aspect.
it was, but I felt safe in that moment. I
Yes.
felt safe in that space.
Like
So that's
relief
one.
that you finally I can.
Finally, I can say that. Oh my God, I'm not the only one. But was shocking. What was shocking now that I reflect back, is that if I was looking at the demographic,
Yeah. What
right,
was the
there were
demographic?
only women.
Was it?
Only I was the only man.
Wow.
And I think, and I went to different meetings, and it was always the same thing. And I think that eating habits and eating issues are more socially accepted by women than
Right.
by men. Like, men would not even say that this is an issue.
Well, asking for help is quite hard anyway, but
Asking-
I guess for that there's quite a lot of shame as well.
There is, because then you're seeing in the media all the time, like the media made it
A women's issue.
socially if a women's issue, not a man's issue. So if you're a man with that issue, don't go out there because it's
Yeah.
a women's issue, right? So now
Wow.
you're questioning your own identity as a man,
Wow. As an Italian man.
as an Italian man. So there was all these things that were going on. I was like, oh my God, this is fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
And but the moment where I was working with a coach at the time, and plus going to Overeaters Anonymous, and then the moment I think my coach said, you know what, you feel like eating, go and eat. There's no problem. I was like, what? It's like, no, you feel like eating something, go and eat. Knock yourself out. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You should tell me to stop. It's like, well, that's why I said, no, you go and eat, do whatever you want. And so the moment that I was actually, if I wanted to binge, I went and binge, and I was enjoying the binge.
So be present with the binge.
Be present with the binge. It's like,
Yeah.
you want to binge, you better
Enjoy
enjoy
that
it.
food. Yeah.
And you know what? That was the thing that got things to stop. Because
What? We can't do that with alcohol, though.
no, exactly. It's a different
Let's
thing.
just be
Exactly.
clear here.
Absolutely. That's why they're completely different. That's why I said food is different in the reaction
Yeah. Internally, there's,
of alcohol. And I think that everyone has their own path of release.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's why I would say there is, for me, what flicked the switch was just saying that there was nothing wrong in that, and I could do that. I wasn't a bad person if I was doing that.
So
That
get over the judgment.
eating a cake, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Right.
And that was my association.
Yes.
I eat cakes, bad person. Which,
Yes.
which
I
is
deserve to
funny.
be punished, and then eventually, and you said bulimia and things like that, so that means you're punishing your body in quite significant ways as well before going back to the eating the cake or whatever it might be.
Exactly. And so the moment where I said I was able to acknowledge, just enjoy my binge,
Yeah.
instead of binging 4 times a week or 5 times a week, and then having the 2 days of starvation,
Yeah.
I would do binge then 3 times a week, and then it was going to twice a week,
Wow.
and then it went once a week, and then it went once every 2 weeks, and then once a month, and then once every 5 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it just happened naturally. And so for me, was not resist, not fight myself over that. And that's something that I think that with every addiction, you cannot really ever get rid of it. You always have that trigger.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And for me, when I'm too stressed, or when I work too much, then when it comes out. So I'm now able to have it much more control over it, because I know that I kind of see the signal
Ahead of
before and
time.
say, yeah, ahead of time, so I can say, okay, let me relax and chill out. And then if I have a moment where I want to go and binge, and now it happens every 3 4 months, I'm just going to enjoy my freaking binge.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and that was what helped me out massively in
Without
this
any
journey.
punishment. You also mentioned right at the beginning the thing that saved you from some of the challenges that were going on at home was turning to work as sort of an addiction or a release, I think you said. And I
Yeah,
wonder, because this resonates with me anyway, you let go of one addiction, but we can sort of become attached to other things that are probably more
I love
positive.
working. I love
I know.
working.
I love working so much as well.
My average working day is about 15 hours a day,
But
and
at least it's work that you love, right?
I love every single minute. Well, no, okay, I'll
No,
be
that's
lying.
not
Do I
true.
love every single? No, that's a lie. I love the majority of it. I love the outcome that I'm seeing. I love. I'm incredibly competitive, and I love to win. And so, if I set myself a challenge, I do everything I can to win that challenge, no matter how big it is.
So, is there a
It's-
downside?
yeah, downside is social life. So, for
Right.
example,
Human connection.
human connection,
Yeah,
right? Because for example, for about so my one of my biggest passion ever has been basketball.
right.
Basketball, oh my god, I can play 5 hours in a row without stop, and I can just be by myself on the court and
Really?
shoot the same position and make the same shot for 5 hours, and I'm the happiest person in the world. Uh, so and I stopped playing basketball for about 8 years because I was working,
That
and
sounds terrible.
but I didn't even realize it. It was
No,
just okay. I'm working in the evening. The trainings are in the evening. I'm working in the weekends. The games are at the weekends.
I can't
I
do
cannot.
everything.
So and then I decided to start my own business. When if you're a workaholic already and then you start your own business, then there is
There are
no
no
limit,
boundaries. You can
there are
just,
no boundaries.
yeah.
So I stopped playing basketball, and then I literally started playing basketball again 1.5 years ago. And I was like,
Why?
why did I stop
Yeah,
this?
what made you restart, I guess?
The business was going much better,
Hmm.
so I felt I didn't need to work that much, which is again a bit messed up, but I felt I didn't need to work that much, that I could take that hour or two a day to go and play basketball. And right now, I'm actually playing the fourth division in the National League in a team in Lewisham in Southeast London.
Okay.
So I'm playing there. I play at a competitive level, professional level, and it took me 1.5 years of consistent training to get back to the level of
Being able
where
to
I was
play.
before. Actually, I think I'm even better now. And so that was the downside was giving up on other things that I absolutely loved and making only about work. And then the other downside was in particular talking about relationship. I didn't have any friendship outside the work environment.
Right.
So all people that I was connected with, just people that were in my space, and I didn't even have a deep connection, a friendship connection, with just like a working connection.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that starts to impact you over time.
Exactly. And my wife, when I got married, things
You have a
changed.
wife? This happened? Oh, I see. That's when it changed. I get it.
So I got married. I got married last year,
Okay,
and but
congratulations.
we've been together now for 4 years. Actually, yesterday night we celebrated our 4 year dating anniversary, the
Very
first time we
nice.
dated. And she's completely opposite of me, completely opposite.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. She likes to chill.
Yeah.
She works. She's very ambitious, but she's
When
not.
she's done,
She's
she's done.
her work life balance is important, and she loves to go on holidays.
Mm.
And I was like, holidays? What are
What's the holiday?
holidays? What's really? Do I need? Oh my god! And now I'm enjoying going on holiday and traveling and just taking the time off. There might be some days where I work 15 hours, but there are days where I do nothing at all.
Yeah. You have the
Or
choice.
we go on a holiday and we stay away for 2 weeks, and I'm not even opening my laptop, and I don't have any internet connection. And it's
This is
and it's like,
revolutionary.
and it's like, oh my god, there is a whole world out there. No way.
What does it do for your brain or your mindset when you come back or even in those moments?
It's a blessing because my mind will always think about what can I do, what can I can't do for my business,
Sure.
but it would just give me that space to then come back and push it again instead of driving because I was going through the like work yourself to the ground, then be sick for a couple of days and then
Burn
come
out.
back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then burn
Oh, so
out.
then you're forced to stop because your body is just making you stop.
So now I haven't been burning out for a few months, which I think is an achievement
Well
for me.
done.
It's
Yes.
a yes, I go
Yeah.
for it. I had a 2 weeks cruise in the Caribbean for our wedding anniversary. It was amazing.
What? Amazing.
We decided didn't even got the internet package, so we didn't have even internet access. Uh, and she forces me. That's what she does. She forces me to take time off because that's how she does it. She says, "I'm going to New York. Would you like to come?"
She doesn't wait. She's just like, I'm planning this. Yeah.
If I have to wait for you, we never go anywhere. I'm going. Do you want me to book one ticket or do you want to join me?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you are too hot to go by yourself, so I come with you.
I must come, obviously. So, what advice would you give to somebody who might be in their rock bottom point at the moment, whatever that might be for them, whether it's grief, addiction, whatever it might be, trauma? We hear about those quite a bit. What advice would you give to that person who's isolating and in the shame hole about taking those first few steps for moving themselves forward?
I think that's probably the advice that a lot of people give, which is seek help.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone who knows what they're doing, not just talk to someone.
Okay.
Like seek experts' help. So go to a counselor, cognitive behavioral therapist,
A group, a support group, something.
group, whatever is like. Do the best you can to seek actively for support because if you don't seek for support or you're pushing away or the support that other people are going to give you one day or the other, then they're going to get tired of saying, "Hey, I can help you," and then you would just see them disappear in your life.
And I bet people who are at their rock bottom have seen already that people have disappeared from their life, or that they've made choices to isolate themselves because they don't want people to see them in that situation.
So, and I think there are different kind of rock bottoms. So, for example, if you have a rock bottom for an addiction or mental illness or something, yes, seek help.
Yeah.
Go there.
Yeah.
If you are okay and you don't struggle with this kind of issues, but maybe you're just like an entrepreneur and you're not earning enough money and you become homeless like I did, just because I was stubborn and not to go. I didn't want to go back to a job, and I just said, no, I'm gonna make it on my own.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
what made me homeless. Literally, I could go and get a job at any time. Like, if any time I can walk into a restaurant, I get a job.
Of course.
But I made myself homeless because I was stubborn that I was going to make it by myself, and I slept. And it was also an interesting experience because I would say I enjoyed it. But that's another interview.
But it's also in hindsight you can see how it was good that you stuck it out and didn't go for that sort of escape route and get the job in the restaurant.
It wasn't, but I think it was. If I have to go back, it was very stupid. Why do I have to make my life so difficult?
Yeah.
Right. That's the question that I had. Why do I have to make my life? So who do I have to prove?
What am I proving to who?
Well,
yeah.
Who am I proving to who, and what am I proving? Right. And I think that was my thing, that I had to prove to myself that no matter what, I could make it on my own. And I had to prove to myself that I didn't need anyone else's help. And I had to prove to myself that I was strong enough. And I had to prove to myself that I couldn't make it without even going back to a job. And it was all these things that I had to prove to myself. And
why do you think that was, though? I'm always curious about why some people have that level of drive.
It might be because of situation that happened at school, that people were saying that, my teacher was saying I was not going to account too much if I kept going that way. They were saying, you are really smart, but if you keep going this way, you're not going to make anything out of your life.
And you're like, I'll show them.
And I show them. Or the other one was just an escape from what happened with my parents, that had to prove to myself that I didn't need them.
Yeah. And
because I didn't need them, then I don't need my parents. I can make it on my own. I'm 14. Then the story kept repeating.
Yeah.
In my late 20s, and if I'm looking at the journey, I was very lucky. because I realized those things in my early 20s. I mean, I'm 30 right now, but it feels I'm still 29 actually, 30
Oh, such a baby. Yeah.
but it felt I've lived such an intense life. Literally, I don't know many people who live that life at such a level of intensity. I change my personality and who I am about 10 times.
Yeah.
And sometime 5 months could feel like I would do in 5 months what many people would do in 5 years. And now I look back at it and it's like, okay, it's insane, but that's how I am. I'm just
do you think you needed the adversity in your life in order to become the man that you are today?
Absolutely. I think adversity build characters.
And do you have kids?
Not yet.
And let's just imagine for a minute when you have a child, assuming that's the path you go down. Let's just go there. I've got two.
Yeah, I want to.
You do, okay. So when you have a kid, will you almost hope and want them to experience some kind of adversity in their life in order to build their character?
Yeah, I do.
When the flip side is that you want to protect them from everything that ever happened to you, so that they don't live the same life.
So let's put it this way. I will feel terrible probably in that moment when it will happen.
It's hard.
It would be hard, and at the moment, because I don't have kids, so it's just
it's a hypothesis. Hypothetical.
Everything's hypothetical here.
Yeah.
But I definitely not going to make it easy for them.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the people that have had to work or had to build their character, and I'm not talking about it doesn't have to go to a lot of struggle. Yeah. I wouldn't actually wish that, like the addiction and this and that. I wouldn't wish that for them.
Yeah.
But if there are some parents that reach a certain level of success and then they do their best they can to support their children, to make everything easy for them, to open all the doors for them, and I would not want to be that kind of parent, even if I could. Like, money's not an issue. Money's not an issue. Connections, I got plenty of connections right now, but I would still want them to grow. So, for example, I got a brother which is now 22.
I was wondering how he turned out.
Exactly. He was the one who suffered the most. Right. From all the situation.
Because he was still there, and
it was still there. He was 6 years old when it all happened. So he had some very tough times, and he has a very completely different personalities. I'm the exuberant one. I'm the one who just get out there and conquer the world. And he's like, I'm cool.
Yeah, I'm chilled.
I'm quiet. I'm chilled. I'm in my place. As long as I have my job, I'm happy.
Yeah. Isn't it funny though that you can have similar catalysts as far as the addiction or whatever's in your house, the chaos, and due to nature and nurture, personality as well as drive or whatever experience, you can completely have different paths in life.
Yeah, we are two completely different people. In fact, he says, it's funny, he always says that, I don't want to talk to you because you just don't get me.
And you probably feel the same way. I'm like, not that you don't want to talk to him, but we just speak different languages.
Sometimes I want to change job. Send a freaking CV. You want to change job? Send a CV.
Do something.
Oh no, I need to think about this, and then I need to think about that. And, this doesn't line up, and then it's like, oh, fuck, just send a CV. Why am I talking to you?
Yeah.
And I always felt like a kind of father for him after that happened. And now he's living in the UK as well, because in Italy the economical situation for young people,
no, it's ridiculous.
Oh my God,
it's hard.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
In fact, there are a lot of young people that the average person, even my friends as well, they still live with their parents, the majority of them. That's
because you have to.
Because you have to. You don't have a high-paying job. They just get you on temp contracts of, you work 40 hours a week, you earn 300 euros a month. And that's the kind of, so unless you are already, you have a degree that can open a lot of doors at a managerial level, then there are always opportunities, but it's much more difficult than here in the UK. Let's put it this way. And so I got my brother to come here and said, okay, anyway, you learn it, you learn English, it will open doors in the future, whatever you do.
Yeah.
And so is now building his character, but he says to me, well, you have a lot of money, why don't you give me some money?
Oh.
I'm like, no. Like,
Oh.
if sometime if I lend him some money, I put a sign and I say, no, you gotta give me this money back on this date.
Yeah.
And I keep a track of everything, because it doesn't have to, because I've worked hard for that, and I want him to value the same. Now, of course, if you're going on holiday, I'm gonna pay more than him, and so on. But he gets very annoyed.
Of course, because he just thinks in the immediate that it would be easier and simple for that to happen, but actually you're thinking of the big picture.
I'm thinking of the big picture. I mean, the easiest solution is, hey, you cannot pay your bills, I don't know, here's the money. That's the easiest solution.
Yeah.
But the solution that is going to make him a better person is the solution that is going to make him think about, okay, what can I do legally
well, yes, let's say that
to get that money, or to make that money, or what kind of negotiation. And if he needs any help, I will always give him what he needs.
But sorry, when you're backed into a corner, that's when you find your resourcefulness, right?
Exactly. So I'll probably be like this also with
your own child. You've had a bit of practice. Simone, we're past our time. I feel like we could go on forever. So thank you so much for being so open and for your advice and guidance. If anyone wants to connect with you sort of online, social media, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you. You can find me in two places. One is my website, which is www.g-tex.org.uk. And the other one is my podcast, which is called Explode Your Expert Biz Show. So Explode Your Expert Biz Show. You can find it on any podcasting platform.
Lovely, amazing. We'll add all that into the show notes as well. Until we put this out there, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a great interview.
All right. Perfect, Simone. Thank you so much. Yeah. How do you feel?
Hey, we went deep.
We go deep.
We went deep, man. Generally, I might talk about this stuff, but I would never go in so much details. So I think it's one of the I do a lot of interviews, but this is like the 2 or 3 we're really deep. Yeah.
I really appreciate that, because that's what I feel creates the most impact for other people, when they see vulnerability, as you know, and that somebody can actually admit to some of that stuff and be successful, wonderful people. It's like it just puts a different view on our lives and what it took to get us to where we are and what we're achieving.
I agree with you. So thank you for creating the space.
Thank you so much. It's going to be a few weeks before this is out there, but I'll let you know when it is and then tag you on some stuff if you're happy with that. If you can just send me a profile image, like a thumbnail image, through, are we on email, through Skype or wherever?
You can take it if you want, if you can take the one from Facebook.
Okay, fine. Good.
So that's my Facebook picture is the one that I use in all the profiles on social media.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll take that one, and we'll be in touch then, yes?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.